In today's podcast, you will learn lots of vocabulary connected to travel agents so that you can book your holiday in English without any misunderstandings that might spoil your holiday. Welcome to
Aprender Inglés with Reza and Craig.
Hi, I'm Reza.
And my name's Craig.
And with nearly 60 years of teaching between us, we'll help you improve your English and take it to the next level. Welcome everybody, especially any new listeners that we have out there. This is our 556th episode. So if you are a new listener, there's a big back catalogue that you can have a look at.
There's a back what?
Back catalogue. I meant to say a back catalogue. So episodes from the past, yeah. So if you're a new listener, please do take the time to catch up with as many episodes as you can.
Yes,
how are you doing?
Absolutely. And also, if you're a new listener, go to the website inglespodcast.com if you are curious about something particular, something specific, like an area of grammar or vocabulary, then you can search in the search box for any episodes that you want to listen to.
Speaking of travel, which is what we'll be talking about, what could be better than killing the time on a long flight by listening to episodes of our podcast? Imagine you have a 6-hour flight, a 7-hour, 8-hour flight. Start listening to the episodes. You could maybe listen to about 20 episodes, 25, something like that.
You could travel around the world 6 or 7 times with 556 episodes, couldn't you?
Yeah. You might even become an AIRC556. Now, an alcoholic is not the same as an alcoholic. It's not someone who drinks too much. It's someone who overdoses on AIRC. Aprender Inglés with Reza and Craig. Alcoholic. So listen to 20 episodes on a flight and become a confirmed alcoholic. And we will treat your symptoms by giving you more episodes. We feed the addiction.
We feed your addiction to our podcast. Now, today we're talking about travel agencies, and this vocabulary will be useful for travel agents and also for tourists or anyone who goes on holiday. We have spoken about holidays and travel before. If you go to episode 528, you can listen to some useful travel phrases and holiday vocabulary. So to go there, go to inglespodcast.com/528 or listen on your podcast app of choice. We spoke about holidays and travel back in episode 156 and air travel vocabulary specifically in 108. And with our ex-colleague and friend Nicola, we spoke about her travels in Morocco. And also we looked at some the grammar of indirect questions. That was inglespodcast.com/50.
So, Craig, the first thing is I got to ask you, how was your recent trip to India?
It was fantastic. I actually went this month, or maybe last month, or maybe last year, if you're listening to it a long time in the future. It was a fantastic holiday. It was basically a nature trip. We went to some national parks in India, saw some wonderful exotic birds that were migrating through the country, Bengal tigers, leopards, lots of different animals, and it was very relaxing and very enjoyable. So I do have a couple of comments later about how the trip was organized, and we will get into that and look at some of those things. But first, let's look at some specific words and vocabulary connected to travel. Now, 3 words that are sometimes confused are trip, travel, and journey. What's the difference, Reza?
Well, I used the word trip when I asked Craig about him going to India. I could have said journey as well. So you can go on a trip. You can also go on a journey. But you cannot say travel in that expression because you can't say before travel, because travel is an uncountable noun. Yeah. You can say travel is good for the mind, and that's a noun, but it's uncountable. You can't say a plus travel. So that's one difference. And also, I would say that journey is only used for, let's say, long periods of travel, right? For example, to go from here to Alboraya, which is about 10 minutes away from where we are now, from Valencia. It's a local town. You couldn't say that was a journey because it's only 10 minutes. You could say a trip, but you wouldn't say, I'm going to go on a journey to somewhere 10 minutes away. So we think of journey as somewhere reasonably far away, right?
Yeah, I agree with that. It tends to be a long distance, but it's any kind of travel from one place to another. And we can also use journey when we're talking in a more abstract way, like our life's journey, the different stages or the events in life. You can say, I'm on a journey through my life. But yeah, that's basically the difference between those three. And travel is more commonly used as a verb. For example, I like to travel.
There's another type of trip you can go on, Craig. Some
acid trip?
I hadn't thought of that. Have you ever been on an acid trip?
I have not taken LSD. No, I have not been on an acid trip, but that is another kind of journey you could take in your brain if you take some stimulants. Yeah,
that's a good point. I was going to ask about a far more common type of trip, which is to nowhere physically. You're a married man. Have you ever been on a guilt trip?
A guilt trip?
A lot of married men at the expense of their wives find themselves on a guilt trip. What's that?
When you're feeling guilty about something, so you do something you should not do and you feel guilty afterwards. So yes, you can say that you're on a guilt trip. You're feeling guilty about doing something bad.
So if someone guilt trips you, it can actually be a verb. If you guilt trip someone, you say things to make them feel guilty. It's like when your wife might say to you, oh, look at that socket over there, which you promised you'd fix 2 months ago, and then 2 weeks ago, and then yesterday. I guess you'll fix it someday. Oh, don't worry. We can't plug anything in there, but no problem. She's trying to make you feel bad. It's a guilt trip. Or, oh, when was the last time I went on holiday? Oh, I can't remember because my husband never wants to take me on holiday. He has other priorities. She's guilt tripping you. It can be the reverse. Men do it to women as well. So husbands and wives often guilt trip each other.
That's true. I'm very aware of that. Another couple of expressions that are sometimes confused, and that's travel agent and tour operator. So the travel agent is the person that you are probably more likely to deal with. You'll be contacting a travel agent online. You still sometimes get travel agents in a kind of a shop, a physical building, but these days more often you'll find them on the internet. And the tour operator is more the umbrella company that sells the trip or tour to the travel agent. So the travel agent is really connecting you, the traveler, the customer, with the tour operator who's providing the tour, the service.
Yes, if the travel agency where you bought your tickets goes out of business, that means they have to close while you're on holiday, probably nothing will happen to you if you already have the tickets. However, if the tour operator goes out of business while you're on holiday, you are up a certain creek with no paddle. That means that no company is going to honor, that means follow the contract, because they're not going to get the money from the tour operator. Has that ever happened to you?
It hasn't, thankfully. No, not yet, but that is a worry. So that's something that you might want to take out insurance against. Now, when you go to your travel agent to plan and schedule your trip, you would probably get the next word from them. Now, I want to ask you, Reza, how you would pronounce this next word, which is a kind of a travel roadmap, the days and whatever you're doing on each particular day. How many syllables does this word have for you?
4.
Can you say it?
Itinerary.
Yeah, I agree. Itinerary. I've heard it said like this, itinerary.
I've heard that as well, yeah.
Yeah, itinerary.
I think both pronunciations are probably accepted.
So no, you said 5 syllables, itinerary.
Oh, sorry, I said 5.
Yeah.
Sorry, not 4. I meant to say 5, yeah.
I meant to say 5 as well. It's
Sorry.
5, yeah.
I was counting wrong. So some people use 5, like me and you, and some people 4. Right, that's it.
So yeah, the itinerary is what you're doing, the plan, the schedule of your trip, what you're doing day by day.
The itinerary will include accommodation arrangements, but there'll be other things. There'll also be the flights, etc. But the accommodation arrangements are the details, saying, for example, that you're staying in a hotel or maybe a campsite or maybe a hostel or some other type of place where you can sleep, and also how many people per room, how much it will cost, etc. That's your accommodation arrangements.
You can see these words listed in the show notes on the website, inglespodcast.com/556, to see all of these words. The next expression is when sometimes the hotels do not get completely full, they're not completely booked, or the flights to the destination, the aeroplane has some spare seats. In these cases, the travel agency might reduce the prices of the trips and you might get some last-minute deals. So if you're lucky enough to get a last-minute deal, you'll be paying less money than the standard price.
Someone explained to me recently how sometimes you can get amazing last-minute deals when traveling, specifically for car hire in certain places. Have you heard about this?
I haven't, no.
It can happen in Spain in some places, very specific places. Mallorca is one such place, and a few other places. So this is what happens sometimes. You get just incredible deals. We're talking about a day of car hire for €10. You think, well, they couldn't possibly make any money at that price. That's right, they don't. But they don't care. It's whenever they have a lot of cars that haven't been hired, and you might think, well, okay, I understand that, but why €10? Why go to all the effort, the paperwork? They're not going to make any money. Why not just not hire the car? Because it costs them money in the very expensive car parking in the airport.
Oh, right.
So the company gets the car out of the car park, and that way per day they save themselves about €15 or something like that. You and I would pay a lot more, yeah, but they pay about €15. So they charge you 10, 15, and that way they've saved a little bit of money. They were going to lose money just by having the car parked there.
That's interesting.
So look out for last minute deals in places where airport car parking is very expensive. That's where you get them, curiously.
Very good. I would expect to get a car for that kind of money, €10, like a Flintstones car that you pick up and run with it because your feet go through the bottom of the floor. But that's a very good deal, €10. Now, the next expression is tailor-made tours. A tailor is a person who makes clothes or adjusts your clothes for you. And if a tailor makes your clothes to measure, then they'll make you a dress or a suit that fits your body and only your body. So it's special for you. So, of course, you can probably guess that a tailor-made tour is a tour that you say what you want, and then the travel agent will adapt the trip to meet your request and your requirements. You want to say, I want to spend 3 days in this place, then I want to spend 4 nights in this hotel, and the tour operator will arrange it for you. That is a very special tailor-made tour.
So it isn't getting a new, very expensive suit to go on holiday.
No.
It's not that.
And it's not going on holiday with a tailor either.
And a very important collocation, 2 words that go together, is flight reservations. So obviously you'll want to reserve flights in advance. And once you've done that, you have your flight reservations. And it's a similar collocation for your hotel rooms. You also have hotel reservations. In British English, you'll often hear, instead of the word reservations, bookings, hotel bookings.
And exclusive offers are offers, things you buy that are very special. So if you have an exclusive offer in a luxury hotel for 4 nights, then maybe you have a special price for the time that you're there. Maybe you have a free lunch or two. So you have a very special deal, a special offer that's called an exclusive offer.
Now, Craig, you've been in quite a few long distance journeys to nice places in your time. Would you say the majority have been luxury travel or budget travel?
Luxury travel, no. In my younger years, definitely budget travel. Budget travel is cheap. It's not very expensive. You are traveling on a budget, which means you allow, let's say, $10 or $15 per day for your food and accommodation. I have been on those kind of budget trips in the past. I'd say my travel these days, now that I'm older, is somewhere in the middle. So it's not budget travel, sleeping in tents with a backpack, and it's not luxury travel in the best hotels and flying first class. It's probably somewhere in the middle.
Perhaps in that case, then, you might consider all-inclusive resorts or all-inclusive deals or all-inclusive packages now that you're no spring chicken. Would that be right?
It depends where I go. For example, years ago I went to China and I did not have an all-inclusive package. It wasn't a tailor-made tour made by a travel agent. We just went ourselves to China and moved around by ourselves. And that, I think, was a bad idea in China. So I would suggest anyone going to China would try to get some kind of all-inclusive trip where the accommodation, the travel is all arranged for you. It's not easy to move around by yourself in China because of the language and the distances.
Traditionally, I think it's fair to say that the majority of British tourists who come to Spain probably book a package holiday. So a package, everything is set out and every single day you know exactly what you get and what you don't get. So some package holidays will include all the meals. Some will only include 2 meals, but there'll be at least 1 or 2 meals per day. It will always include the hotel and the flights. It might include some day trips, some excursions to certain places when you're there. That's the typical package holiday that British tourists usually buy when they come to Spain.
Yeah, and you also get packaged into that deal. You'll get transport probably from the airport to the hotel. Are you a fan of package holidays?
No, but you've got me thinking. What you just said a minute ago, I wouldn't want a package holiday to somewhere like Spain, where it's very easy to get around on your own, particularly if you speak Spanish. But perhaps a country far away where I don't know the language and I don't really know what I'm doing. In that case, I might consider some kind of all-inclusive deal.
Let's just take a break for a couple of minutes so that I can tell you how to improve your spoken English. Now, if you need to speak more confidently and effectively, if you feel nervous and get stuck sometimes when you need to speak in English, I think my conversation fluency course can help you. You'll be speaking on Zoom with me and a small group of lovely, motivated students, and together we'll help you take your speaking to the next level. Does that sound good? If it does, send me an email for more details to Craig, Craig, at inglespodcast.com, and I'll let you know about prices, dates, and more details about the courses. It's great that you listen to this podcast, and I really hope we're helping you to improve your English. But in my opinion, you need to be proactive and take your spoken English one step further if you want to communicate effectively in English. So send me an email, Craig at inglespodcast.com, and I really look forward to seeing you on the inside. Thanks for listening. Now, let's get back to the podcast. Some countries, and I'm thinking of my last trip to India, have visa requirements where you have to go online sometimes to the website and electronically request a visa. That's always a good idea to check that before you leave. And sometimes you get the visa when you arrive in the country. It can be a very quick process at the airport to get a visa on the spot.
And I thought of another word because I saw something in the news recently. Sorry, another word. No, I should say another collocation, 2 words. Entry requirements. So a visa requirement is one type of entry requirement, but there are others. For example, newsflash, the British government are going to introduce a new ETA, which stands for an electronic travel authorization. It isn't a visa. It is not a visa, but it is a type of entry requirement. Basically, what it means is you have to ask for permission and let the British authorities know that you will be visiting the United Kingdom and pay them £10. It isn't a visa. They don't call it a visa. I've looked at the government website. They're very clear that it is not a visa. Some people from certain countries will have to get a visa in addition to the ETA, both things. But if you're traveling from Spain, from April 2025, you will need an ETA. You will have to pay the British government £10 to visit.
Travel agency commission. You probably know the word commission. Obviously, if the travel agent, that is the person who you deal with, and the travel agency is the place or the business, travel agency commission is the small amount of money that the travel agency receives when they sell you a holiday or a packaged holiday.
Now, obviously, people have to make money, so you will be charged for certain services on your trip. Another useful word is a surcharge. That's with the prefix SUR plus the word charge, a surcharge. And that's kind of like an extra charge. So something out of the ordinary, not a standard charge. An example of that might be a single room supplement. So very often they give a price per person in hotels, staying they suppose in a room for 2 people. So let's say it's £30 per person. So then the room's going to cost 60. What am I saying? £30. What year am I talking about?
1963.
1963. Let's get a more realistic figure. Let's say it's £50 per person at least. So £50 per person. So there's 2 people. So you have to pay £100. They might have some single rooms for 1 person, but I would be surprised if they didn't have a single room supplement. So instead of you just paying £50 like everybody else, every other individual, I wouldn't be surprised if you have to pay £80 to be on your own. So in other words, there's a £30 single room supplement, and that is a type of surcharge.
Do you think there's a difference between supplement and surcharge? My feeling is a surcharge is any extra cost or additional fee that might be added to the base cost, the basic cost, whereas a supplement might be extra money you pay to get something more. For example, you can have a double room, which is a basic cost, but if you pay a 10% or 15% supplement, you get a bigger bed, you get a balcony, you get tea making facilities, something extra. Do you agree with that?
That's true, yeah. Yeah.
Small difference, but there is a difference there, I think.
Yeah, supplement is the idea of adding something.
Adding something extra. Yeah. Discount is some money that is removed from the total cost. So, for example, if you book in advance, maybe 6 months before you go, you could get a discount. And when you travel, when you fly, if you fly often, it's a good idea to have some frequent flyer miles. Those are miles that are put on a loyalty card that you can get from the airline company. And when you've flown many, many, many miles, you might get a free flight somewhere, or you might get an upgrade to business class, for example. So frequent flyer miles are a good thing to have, to do, especially if you're a frequent traveler.
If you've booked a trip with a travel agency, you might have to wait a few days before they give you the booking confirmation, a piece of paper or perhaps an email. Probably there'll be a number on it saying that, yes, this is what you've bought, and we can confirm that you're going to get A, B, C, D, E, F, G, etc. Or it could be just for one individual flight. Even if you just buy a flight with some company online, you also get a booking confirmation once you've paid the money.
And when you arrange your holiday or vacation. Vacation is the American word for holiday. When you arrange it with your travel agent, it's always a good idea to read the small print of your policy. Your policy is the agreement, the formal contract between you and the travel agent. And it's a good idea to read the small print, all of the document, because you want to know what the cancellation policy is. The cancellation policy is if there's a problem and you cancel the holiday, do you get a refund or do you get a partial refund, some of the money? Maybe you're ill and you have to go to hospital. Maybe there's a problem with the flights. Maybe you're flying to Los Angeles and it's on fire. Something could happen where you need to cancel your holiday. Well, do you get some money or all of the money back? Check your cancellation policy.
Craig, you've been on a few group tours in your time. Which was your favorite one?
I really enjoyed a group tour I did to Albania with some Spanish people. The group was very eclectic, very different people, very different backgrounds and tastes. That was very interesting. It's always interesting to meet new people on holiday and see how they behave. But the trip was very enjoyable, and Albania is a beautiful country. You've been there, haven't you?
No, I haven't. I was about to go, but I cancelled at the last minute because I wasn't going to get my international driver's license in time.
Oh, that's right.
There was a delay, and you need one of those in theory to drive in Albania. Though I've heard recently that in practice, they don't really look, but in theory you do. And I didn't fancy finding out how strict they were about it and ending up in an Albanian prison. So I decided not to go.
Did you have a cancellation policy? Did they give you any money back?
I hadn't bought anything at that stage.
Okay.
I was just about to.
Okay. No-show is a useful expression. A no-show is a person who decides not to go on the holiday. So if you are a no-show, then you don't go on your trip.
Craig, I've got to ask you, imagine you couldn't go for some reason to on a flight that you'd booked, and you know you're not going to go. Not very long in advance, but enough time to warn the company. Would you warn them?
I'm not sure I understand the question. Would I warn them?
Warn the company that you're going to be a no-show, that you're not going to appear? If we're talking about, let's say, about 4 or 5 hours, 6 hours, not very long beforehand, you realize you can't go, would you tell the airline that you can't fly with them?
I guess no, I don't think I would, because if I did decide not to go at such short notice, it would probably be an emergency, in which case I would be thinking of other things.
Imagine it wasn't an emergency. You just couldn't go.
Yeah, I might contact the airline to try and cancel the ticket, get a refund, or maybe pay a small fee and change the dates of the trip, which is sometimes possible.
Right.
So in that case, yes, I would.
So it depends for you on the cancellation policy.
Yes.
If the policy was no refund, bad luck, you lose your money, that's it, would you bother to phone the company?
Probably not.
No, me neither, I must admit.
Yeah, we're bad, aren't we?
I think it serves them right, because you know what's going to happen. There are a few companies who have the cheek. To have the cheek means to be very, very bold, to be very audacious to do this. They have the cheek that their policy is you can cancel at any time, but after a certain time, we can't give you any money back. So what am I going to tell you then? So you can sell the ticket to someone else. I'd prefer that they just don't sell the ticket to anybody. And I know that means then an empty seat on a plane, which isn't great. But why the hell should I let, for example, a very famous low-budget Irish company make money and give me nothing back? Bugger them. I wouldn't tell them.
So you've traveled with travel agents. I'm sure you've booked holidays with travel agents, and you've traveled independently by yourself. What are the advantages and disadvantages of both methods of travel? Booking a holiday with a travel agent or booking it all by yourself?
Well, obviously, travel agents have things to sell you, and they can only sell you what they have. Like any seller of anything.
But they do get a reduced price sometimes.
They do, but they might not have what you want.
True.
They're going to, if they're good, they're going to try you and sell you the closest thing to what you want. And who knows, it might exactly match. But if it doesn't, you will just have to make do To make do means accept something, although it isn't perfect, with what they've got. So that's a definite disadvantage. If you book independently and it exists, you can get exactly what you want. Would you agree?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. They do have access to certain accommodation, flights. One thing I found really useful during my last trip to India was being in contact with a travel agent in case of any problems. They were constantly in touch with us via WhatsApp to make sure we were happy with the accommodation. If we needed anything, there was a representative in the country that we could also contact on WhatsApp if we had any problems. So having that backup, having that travel agency behind your trip, if you need help, just knowing that they're there, especially if you're going to a country where you don't speak the language, it's very useful to have.
Now, I haven't booked a flight at a travel agency for a very long time. I usually just book flights online.
Yeah.
But I remember in my early days in Valencia, so we're talking over 25 years ago, I still booked some flights in travel agencies then. And there was a great travel agency. He called himself Cheeky. I'm sure I know that the travel agency is closed.
He called himself Cheeky?
Cheeky. Not English cheeky, Cheeky.
Oh, Cheeky.
As in Spanish, like little guy. And he was a very little guy, very small, cheeky. Although he was an adult, he kind of looked a bit childish. But he was my kind of travel agency because he'd say, oh, so a flight to wherever it is, like, okay, and you get the reduction for being under 21. It's like, no, I'm 23. Said, no, you're under 21, aren't you? It's like, no, I'm under 23. Said, but don't you have a card here that says you're under 21? No, he says, give me a photo. Give him a photo. And within 2 minutes, he had rustled up, created a card, a fake card, so I was 21. And suddenly that was like a 40% discount. That's my kind of travel agency. He was good. He was good.
Is he still in business?
No, he went out of business a long time ago. He might well be in prison. I don't know. But he saved me quite a bit of money.
Yeah, I bet he did. So apart from being able to rustle up, you said, which is a nice expression, to make out of thin air, to produce out of nothing a discount student card or something, what qualities and skills make a good travel agent apart from getting
apart from
discounts?
Being prepared to be dishonest on my behalf, that's the main quality. I think understanding your needs. So they need to understand what type of person you are. I think they need to be able to read you a bit like a psychologist. If they don't get it, if they don't really understand what you're looking for, you're not going to be happy with the service. They need to understand what you're looking for. They need to understand what type of person you are, I think.
I agree 100%. They also need to have a deep knowledge of your destination, where you're going to, so that they can help you to design your trip well and tell you to go to some popular places. Also problem solving. If there are problems while you're traveling, they need to be able to solve the problems. So problem solving is a very useful quality to have if you're a travel agent.
I think that's why Cheeky was so good. He immediately figured me out. Within 2 minutes, he realized this guy will do anything for a bargain. This guy will do anything to get 50 quid off. And boy, he knew me. Yeah. What a great psychologist he was.
You've written a question here about AI. Now, my question was, what trends do you foresee in the travel agency industry in the future? And your question is quite similar. Could AI do the same job as a travel agent? Could it do the job just as well in the future?
Well, let me start by saying I'm sorry to say, but I think many travel agencies have their days numbered. It's clearly...
What does that mean?
That means the time left they have for survival, we can start counting it. They're not going to last forever. Some of them will survive, but I think the vast majority will disappear as people do more and more and more things online. That would be the case even without AI. Even without AI, that would happen. But now that AI is becoming so widespread, you just say, Siri, tell me about how I can go on a low budget trip to place X for 1 week doing this, this and that. And it'll give you some ideas. There will be imperfections in the ideas from AI, but probably enough for you to get a pretty good idea. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I can see in the not too distant future, which means very soon, I can see me or anybody saying to AI, I want to go to Thailand for a couple of weeks. And AI will know you better than you know yourself. So first of all, it's got access to your calendar, so it knows when you're going to be free, and that's the day the holiday starts. It will have access to your bank account, so it knows how much to budget for your trip. It has access to your health records, so it will be able to inform the travel agents of your allergies or illnesses and your likes and your dislikes, and it could probably plan a holiday for you better than you could plan it for yourself. I can definitely see that happening in the next few years. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, in a way, me too. However, I do see one huge
Problem?
Yeah. Problem.
Spanner in the works?
A spanner in the works. I don't know about you, but this is true for me, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. Quite often when I go on a holiday, the whole point is how can I put this? I want a holiday from myself, away from myself.
You want to do something different.
Yeah, AI, of course, can't predict that because AI has all the algorithms, knows what I normally, put that word in capital letters, what I normally like, what I normally do, what I normally spend, etc., etc. But perhaps the whole point of certain holidays is I want to do something out of the ordinary. I don't think AI is going to be very good at predicting that.
Of course it will. I totally disagree. You just have to say to AI, plan me a holiday that would surprise me and would not be a holiday that I would normally do. Something that goes outside my expectations. I want to do something outside the box, and it will design a holiday that would really surprise. You might not like it, but it would be something that you wouldn't expect.
See, that's the thing. It's a general problem I have with AI, not just traveling. It's like, I don't think any algorithm can calculate surprise as well. That's the whole point of the definition of surprise. Because everything AI does, everything by definition must be based on algorithms. Are you going to use an algorithm to surprise someone? The whole point of an algorithm is that it's not surprise-based, it's fact-based. So I beg to differ there.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. But now it's your turn to practice your English. Do you tend to arrange your holidays yourself, or do you go through a travel agent? To go through means to deal with or to contact a travel agent. And have you had any bad experiences with travel agents in the past? We'd love to hear all about it. And you can tell us by going to our SpeakPipe service. That's SpeakPipe, speakpipe.com/Ingles podcast. Or send us an email with a comment or question. If you want to contact me, send your emails to Craig, CRAIG @inglespodcast.com. Also, if you're interested in joining my conversation courses, or to reach Reza, write to Belfast Reza, REZA @gmail.com.
If you're a Spanish speaker and you want to improve your English with free or paid resources, you could visit the Mansión Inglés website. That's at mansioningles.com. And for specifically paid products, you can also browse the online store. You'll find that at store, that's STORE, store.mansioningles.net.
And before we go out the door today, we'd like to thank our Patreon supporters. And you too can join our Patreon program. And by doing that, you will get instant access to the transcriptions of this podcast so that you can read every word that we say during the podcasts. And also once a month, more or less, you'll get a Zoom chat with me so that you can practice speaking in a more informal way. Go to patreon.com, patreon.com/Ingles podcast.
We'd like to say thank you to every single Patreon supporter individually by name, but I'm afraid we just don't have time. So as usual, at the end of every episode, we say thank you to the most recent supporters who've just joined the program, and they are Hesselhier Venet Gusen, sorry if I mispronounced that, Carlos Lopez Galarza, and Malena Ribas Bellafont. Thanks to you and all our Patreon supporters.
Please join us next week. In next week's episode, we'll be answering a listener question about learning a third language, just in case English is not enough for you and you want to go on to learn another language. We'll give you some tips and advice about that. Thank you so much for listening to us this week. Until next time, it's goodbye from me.
And it's bye-bye from me.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please tell your friends so that more people can listen. And we remind you that the music this week is by Pitts. The track is called See You Later.